college football's greatest coach, Joe Paterno.
It's Friday night before Penn State's big game against Wisconsin, and their 78-year-old head coach, Joe Paterno, is leading the pep rally.
People say to me, what are you going to get out of it? When are you going to quit? I can't go back to Brooklyn. There's no more grass. When I came here 55 years ago, 56 years ago, I looked at this place and I said to myself, God almighty, what am I doing here? For me to have been a part of what has happened here, to walk into that stadium, which I'm going to walk in tomorrow, and we're going to have towels waving, and we're going to have a whitened section, and we are going to be the loudest, raucous crowd that ever watched a football.
What does it feel like to play meaningful games in November again? That's got the juices going, right?
Yeah, no. Sometimes I wake up at 3 o'clock, and I was up at 3 o'clock this morning, because I'm all excited about my team right now.
These days, when Joe Paterno talks about his team, he can't help but smile. Paterno's Nittany Lions are 9-1, their only loss coming in the last second at Michigan. Penn State is ranked 6th in the country, and barring a loss in their final game against Michigan State, they'll win their first Big Ten title in 11 years. For the first 34 years of his coaching career, Paterno had only one losing season. Since 2000, he's had 4 of them. He's gotten a lot of criticism, some of it personal. Columnists called on him to step down, and a booster placed this ad in a local newspaper.
I don't wake up in the morning thinking about what's the newspaper going to write about me? What's this guy think about me? What's this guy? I wake up, trying to figure out the poor guy that's in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, okay, who has to go to work, and he has to live with guys from Syracuse, all right, and Pitt, and he shut his mouth off for a week. You know what I mean? And he's got.
And now, because of you, his buddies from Pitt and Syracuse are gloating on Monday morning at the office.
They're giving him the dig, sticking a knife in him. I think about those guys.
So how about over the last few years, when some of those guys were saying, look, put his likeness on a coaching Mount Rushmore, but send him on his way. All right, send him on his way.
Well, I appreciate that. Some of my best friends would, well, how you doing? I'm doing fine. Are you sure?
It's one thing when the website guys and the talk radio dopes are on you. But when the guys who've been with you the whole time are kind of like looking down at the floor, right?
Absolutely, Bob.
How close did you come any time over the last 4 or 5 years to saying, you know what, time to go?
Oh, I think about it. Bob, I'd be less than honest if I told you I don't think about it. But my dad was a boxer. My dad used to say, did you ever see anybody get knocked out? I said, what do you mean? He said, did you ever see anybody fight? They carried him out on a stretcher. He said, no. He said, you get knocked out when you don't want to get up again.
Did you ever feel like you didn't want to get up again?
Oh, yeah.
3-9, 4-7?
Absolutely, yeah, no. But that kept back in my mind, do I want to get up again? Do I want to get up again? And I wanted to get up again.
Despite criticism that Penn State's offense was too old-fashioned and predictable, Paterno maintained that he was only a few skilled players away from turning things around. Last year, he directed his attention to one of them, wide receiver Derek Williams, the #1 rated high school football prospect in the country. Paterno first met Williams at Penn State's summer football camp.
Coach Paterno said he'd had his eye on you from that day forward when you were like 14 years old.
Yes. Came in my 8th grade year, I believe I ran a 4.4. So that was pretty good for an 8th grader.
Yeah.
I think that was like the second fastest time at the camp. And I felt honored just to meet somebody like that so early.
Paterno was determined to bring Williams to Penn State and took an unusually personal step to make that happen.
We have a copy of his handwritten letter to you, March 9th, 2004. He says, ordinarily I don't recruit in the spring, but this year, the first day we're allowed to be on the road, I'm going to be at Eleanor Roosevelt High School. I want to make sure you know how much we want you. How important was this personal letter?
That was very important, you know, just for him to write a personal letter like that. Usually I was getting typed letters, probably. I didn't know if it was from the head coaches or not. JoePA is a legend coach. His name speaks for itself.
Paterno has been around the game of football for more than 6 decades. In the 1940s, he was a high school football player in Brooklyn, where he once ran up against a future legend.
I understand the only game that you lost as a senior in high school at St. Cecilia was to a team coached by Vince Lombardi. True?
Absolutely true. And a guy by the name of Larry Higgins, on a 4th and 3, ran over me when I was a linebacker and went 35 yards for the winning touchdown and beat us. Only game we lost.
Not like you remember it or anything.
Oh, I remember every bit of it. Lombardi lives in one parish, the Torreys lived in another parish. In fact, I think I dated Joe Torre and Frank Torre's oldest sister, who became a nun.
That's what drove her to the convent, Joe.
That's probably exactly right. But I mean,
Sister Marguerite? You dated Sister Marguerite?
I think I dated Sister Marguerite.
Heavens
way back.
preserve us.
In any case, after high school, Paterno played at Brown University and then followed his coach, Rip Engel, to Penn State as an assistant in 1950. 16 years later, he got the top job.
We're 3rd and 2. Come on, get to the ball. Let's go.
Paterno had remarkable success in his first 4 years, going undefeated twice and winning 23 consecutive games. That got the attention of NFL owners, and one of them came calling.
In the early 70s, the Patriots, Sullivan family, I guess, then owned the team.
Yeah,
they offered you the head coaching job and a piece of the team. Is that the closest you ever came to leaving Penn State?
Absolutely. In fact, I told Billy Sullivan I was going to take that job at night, and then went to bed with my wife. I said, you know, you're gonna sleep with a millionaire tonight, and she was crying. I said, what the heck are you crying about, for crying out loud? She said to me, what are you taking a job for? I said, well, money. She said, well, we don't need it. Well, how much money do we need? You know, you're going to be happy? So I called Bill up and I said, Mr. Sullivan, I said, don't come down. I said, don't fly down. I said, I'm not going to take the job.
So Paterno stayed at Penn State and built the program into an even greater powerhouse.
He's going for the bundle. Garrity, touchdown!
In 1983, they beat Georgia for their first national championship. 4 years later, they faced Miami in what is still the most watched college football game of all time.
Take me back to one of your greatest victories, the Fiesta Bowl, end of the '86 season, January of '87, against a great Miami team with the Heisman Trophy winner Vinny Testaverde. You intercepted him 4 or 5 times. It was viewed as an upset, gave you the national championship.
Jimmy Johnson's a great coach, and that was a great team. But they didn't want to beat us. They wanted to humiliate us. You know, I remember sitting down with the squad and saying, now look, it's a football game. They're going to make some mistakes. We're going to make some mistakes. And when they make mistakes, let's take advantage of them. You know, not knowing what I was talking about, really. You know, you can't be sure. But sure enough, it worked out that way, you know, and you walked off the field thinking like you're a pretty smart coach.